Trading for Kenny Pickett is like buying your neighbor's used lawnmower. It runs, but they're selling it for a reason.
I'll do you one even better, E. It's like swiping right out of pure boredom.
The Cleveland Browns have traded Kenny Pickett to the Las Vegas Raiders in a blockbuster trade, quote unquote, not really blockbuster, but you get what I'm saying, for a fifth round pick in 2026. Uh, how are we feeling about this? First of all, obviously, a few things happen here. We get Kenny Pickett off the book, who we acquired through a fifth round pick and trading of DTR ourselves. It also moves Dylan Gabriel most likely into that backup position. So a few storylines here. But tell me, first of all, did we get enough? Are you happy with this trade?
Yeah, I'm happy with this trade because it loosens up what's going on in the Cleveland Browns quarterback room. And that is a big deal considering the fact that we decided to take not one, but two rookie quarterbacks who we both got to see in game action this past weekend. If you haven't seen our talking and our review about that game, check out yesterday's episode. But overall, I'm totally fine with this. There was some bright spots for Kenny Pickett during camp. As you could see, he was lighting it up, honestly, at sometimes. He looked good. He had good connection with some of the starting wide receivers. He was mentioned in that first string quarterback type role. I know we talk about him a little negatively here in Cleveland because of his connection to that city to the east of us. But it was unfortunate. Injuries happened, and Kenny Pickett gets dealt to a team that needs a backup quarterback because of Aiden O'Connell getting hurt, and it's a win-win for everybody. We get our fifth round pick back. It's like we cut DTR, and I don't think either of us would have been upset if they cut DTR after last season anyway. So all in all, it's a fair trade and it's a good trade to me. What do you think, E?
I don't know. I'm a little hesitant here because he did look good in camp. There was talk of him vying for a job at first string, duking it out with Joe Flacco. Obviously, I think injury set Pickett back a little bit in that regard. But I just feel like if we had carried, I'm of two minds. If we had carried him into the season a little bit and waited for some of those injuries to play out, maybe we could have got a little more for him. At the same time, perhaps the Browns are thinking that roster spot is more important at this juncture.
Well, I think that's exactly what's going on with how many UDFAs have looked good for this team this year. And being in a year where you can roster some of those guys and you're not super worried about, you know, having all the veteran pieces in the right places because you're going for the Super Bowl. You're allowed to have some guys come in like Huntington, we talked about yesterday. Um, and just come in and really take up some of those reps, whether it be on special teams to develop instead of just being sat on the practice squad. So I get it to an extent. I am super in favor of this move because it lessens the rep disparity between all of the quarterbacks that are there. Joe Flacco, who is starting the season, Dylan Gabriel, who they are high on, Shador Sanders, which has all the potential in the world, in my opinion, and I believe your opinion as well. He has the
Yeah,
potential there. He just has to learn some more.
for
Uh,
sure.
to me, that's what makes this move most exciting is we don't have to worry about there being a quarterback before Gabriel goes in, and then a quarterback before Shador plays for this team. You know what I mean?
Well, let's jump into that more because that means that Dylan Gabriel is our backup going into the season. I want to know what you think about that, but I also want to know, does this have any implications at all for Deshaun Watson and this team?
Yeah, let's keep it on the rookies. We'll end with Deshaun. The rookies to me, and Dylan Gabriel being the backup, we've seen it. We've talked about it at length with how Dylan Gabriel has looked, with what the coaching staff has seen in Dylan Gabriel. They believe he could be a backup quarterback that could step in and play in a game right now. Me and you talked about how Albert Breer was mentioning this on 92.3 The Fan not too long ago, and we were both scratching our heads, but I think our minds have opened up to this idea just a little bit more after seeing him execute the offense in the way that he did in that preseason game. Am I right?
No, no, I agree completely. I think he could be a solid backup. My worry and my hesitancy here is what we talked about. We talked about it a little bit yesterday, and that is that now both rookies are potentially in a position where they're thrown into the fire. I
Yeah.
kind of like that gap between them to try to develop the two. At the end of the day, I think they were going to have to decide at some point, probably between the rookies, if you were going to keep, four guys on the roster, right?
Yeah.
Or they were going to move up regardless. But now I feel a little bit like we know Flacco's a rental. We don't know what next year looks like. Are they going to be thrown to the wolves earlier than we would have liked when Pickett could have maybe moved into a starter role talking next year? I don't know. To roster four quarterbacks at the maybe probably doesn't make sense either. But I just worry that now the development's going to be scrunched a little.
Well, that's precisely it, though. And the problem with that is there is the looming two first round picks that we had in the trade that got Jacksonville Travis Hunter. We obviously got Mason Graham out of it.
Yeah.
You're looking at a situation where the Browns are setting themselves up to get their franchise quarterback next year, and it is up to Dylan Gabriel and Shador Sanders to prove them wrong now. And while that might hurt their development, and for me, I think development is key in the NFL. We've seen it work time and time again. Use Patrick Mahomes as an example before. You also got to know what you have so you know what to do with next year's draft being yet another pivotal draft for this Cleveland Browns organization.
Yeah, I want to pause you a little bit there because I am frankly really tired of this narrative about us potentially drafting our quarterback next year, especially when names like Arch Manning gets thrown around, which I'm not saying Arch is a bad quarterback, but the kid has barely played any snaps of football. And the fact that they're putting so much on him, mainly because of his last name, and already talking about the Browns finding their franchise guy next year, it just seems a little overdone to me.
I get why it's overdone. And I agree with you because I want to focus on this season. I want to focus on the two rookie quarterbacks that we have. But again, to me, the reality of this situation is you don't have two first round picks, one being yourself that's projected to be a bad team, and one being another bad team's first round pick, or at least projected to be bad team. We don't know what Trevor Lawrence will look like with Travis Hunter this year. You don't have those picks if you don't think that you're going to use them to parlay and hopefully pick up a quarterback. It's textbook going to make a move to get a quarterback, draft stock building. And that same thing could
Potentially,
be
but just real quick, how nice would it be to go into that draft having somebody under center already and being able to focus on different needs, receiver, O line, whatever?
Erik, we're in lockstep when it comes to our thoughts, our personal thoughts of this. I'm just explaining the
Right, right,
reality
right.
of the situation of what's going on here and why they have those two picks. I would love to add a wide receiver and an O lineman, or hey, maybe even Caleb Downs, depending on where the pick goes, and add a
Like
strong,
that.
beautiful safety into the secondary of this Cleveland Brown just down the road. We were going to talk Buckeyes today, and then this news broke.
Right.
So we'll talk Buckeyes eventually. I was ready to roll, but whatever.
I love that shirt, by the way.
Big fan of this shirt. It's my favorite, arguably my favorite vintage shirt, period, that I own. Shout out my girlfriend for the t shirt. Listen, though, I'm excited to see what this bodes for the Cleveland Browns. I want to know your thoughts. With everything that we know, everything that's played out to this point, Dylan Gabriel's the first quarterback aside from Joe Flacco going out there, right?
Yeah. Yeah, he's got to be. I think, listen, I like Shador a lot, and I hope that we continue to develop him. But that game showed us that he's not quite ready. And I think he has pure raw talent that he could be one day. He's not a guy that you cut, that's for sure. He
Right.
kept being called a project, and I didn't like that either. I think he's a talent that he's a solid second round talent, I would say. I don't know that he was a first round talent, but he was higher than we got him for. Um, that said, Gabriel looks a little more game polished right now. He is used to that offense a bit more because that is a key distinction. Shador never took reps under center. And for a run heavy offense, you can't take all your snaps from the gun, that's for sure.
Right.
So there's just a learning curve. I think that Dylan, yeah, he gives us the best opportunity right now as a backup guy. Joe is our guy, number one. I mean,
100%.
knock on wood, nothing's happening that's knocking him out this season. And
Well,
I
to
I
be
am still
to be fair, Eric, Joe
to be
Flacco has
fair.
not played a full season until 27 and since 2017.
Yeah, that's fine. I don't know. Maybe a crazy Browns fan in me. I have this image of us pushing for a playoff spot. I know that's insane, but you just don't know, especially with this defense. I want to hear though, what does it mean for Shador in your mind?
What does it mean for Shador? It means more opportunity.
Yeah, it's a
You
good thing,
know,
right?
Yeah, 100%. I don't think the rep share per se is going to change super drastically because when you're the second and third string quarterback in a regular game week, you're not taking a lot of those team reps with the twos. You're playing more of the scout quarterback, especially in the NFL. So
Yeah.
to me, I just think it opens the opportunity for him to be on the field more and show out and show up just in more ways than just being behind not one but two guys and trying to at least take over one and then take over the other to get out there on the field. So I'm excited for Shador because it presents more opportunity. And as much as we might not think, or you would hope that you don't play more than two quarterbacks in a season, I think we're going to see all three of them play at some point for the Cleveland Browns.
Unfortunately, you're probably not wrong. I do want to pivot and talk about Deshaun Watson, but before I do, real quick, 30 seconds. Do you like Shiloh Sanders as a potential addition to this Browns roster?
No, he was a UDFA. I don't want to add both Sanders boys to what has been a media. I can't even
Right.
think of the word
Frenzy.
hurricane, tornado, frenzy is another good one. I'm all the way good on it. Let him go get his opportunity somewhere else, whether it be in the NFL, the UFL, the CFL, whatever. Um, UDFA careers can be volatile sometimes, but I do hope the kid lands on his feet 100%.
Yeah, I wanted to ask the question, obviously, since it's swirling around the media right now. Let's move to one Deshaun Watson. He's an interesting case here. What happens with him? Does this mean anything for him or our strategy and how we deal with him this year?
Deshaun Watson will be announced today as going on the pup list, where he will be physically unable to perform and take up a roster spot for at least the first 4 weeks. And then once we get past those 4 weeks, you have to either roster him or put him on the IR for the rest of the year. And they are going to put him and stash him on the IR for the rest of the year. And I think that's how the team's going to go about this whole situation. What do you think?
Yeah, I completely agree with you. I think how they handle Deshaun Watson is exactly what you're saying. There's some hope and there's a lot of talk about them getting that insurance money for him. I think that's tricky because when you're dealing with a $40 million insurance policy, it's not as simple as, "Hey, he can't play." I think the insurance company will fight as much as it can not to pay that
Right.
out. That said, they're making decisions for a roster that these cut downs this year, they seem like heavier decisions than last year, for example. Obviously, Quinshon Judkins is another example going on the exemption list, meaning that he won't take a roster spot. Eventually, he will be added to this team, but it means that they can continue to evaluate talent in some guys that maybe would have been on the fringe in other years.
Yeah, and we don't know if Judkins is going to be on the exemption list yet for sure. It would be assumed with how the NFL has treated some of these situations in the past that he might go on the exemption list or serve a suspension, hence all the contract debacle that we've touched on before here on the page.
Could
My
go back to
thing
Ohio State. That's a possibility now. I don't think
now,
that's happening, but now within the framework of NIL and whatnot, it's actually open to happening.
yeah, it's not going to happen. We could beat the Judkins drum for hours here on the page. But what's going to happen is we're going to wait and figure out what's going on with the suspension. Depending on the suspension, the Browns will then construct their deal that they see fit for Judkins after that, whether that have guarantees, not have guarantees, so on and so forth. Do you put any validity? I know that some of this Watson talk, especially now that Pickett is gone, the main overarching narrative of this episode, do you put any validity in some of these videos of Watson working out that have obviously been posted by him on social media?
It's so hard. First of all, one of my favorite memes is, and I forget who posts it, but every time Watson posts one of these workout videos or him throwing, they post the meme, "Hey, look, nobody cares," and I love that because it's true. Nobody cares. Everybody's over Watson at this point. Um, I don't know. Is he able to perform? Uh, would we want to see him? I know fans don't, but it gives me pause knowing that Jimmy and Dee went to his wedding for ownership that said, "Hey, that was a mistake," to then be at his wedding. I don't know. That one threw me a little bit. I can't imagine a world in which he's under center again for the Cleveland Browns, though. If that happens, I think that's insane.
Yeah, I'm with you 100% when you say that because I don't think he's going to be under center. The riots that would be had downtown if they try to start him again in the orange and brown would be absurd. Despite the money, despite whatever else could be going into it, has them going to the wedding, like you said, or whatnot. It just doesn't matter. I don't think they want to deal with that PR nightmare for a quarterback that looks so damaged beyond repair at this point.
And it's mental damage. Let's be clear about that because he still had physical tools. We saw him escape the pocket and make athletic plays, but mentally, he would get happy feet and he would see ghosts out there. So I just don't know. I don't care how he looks physically. You could put all these training videos out you want. He did that last year too. He couldn't do the job. I mean, I think it's as simple as that. It's time that we move on once and for all. I wish that they would give him like a little, I don't know, some kind of what's the gas station that the Haslams own? Uh,
Flying J.
yeah, give him
Pilot
like a
Flying J.
flying J thing so that he just doesn't post on social media. Like, I'll pay you X million more and just stop posting. Like, I'm so sick of seeing this guy.
So am I. I'm so sick of seeing Watson as well. I want to take this full circle for a second. I know this is obviously a Browns, a Cleveland based show. We love talking our boys here in the land. But Kenny Pickett was the player that got traded. He's going to a situation over in, I almost said Oakland, but obviously it's Las
Right.
Vegas now with the Raiders. He is going to be the backup for Geno Smith, who the Raiders traded a fair amount to get in and bring in to be their guy over there in Las Vegas. Do you think we'll see any Kenny Pickett football being played this year, especially with Aiden O'Connell, who got injured, only being out 8 to 10 weeks?
Probably. I think more likely than not, we see him at some point. It seems like a strange move to me, to be honest with you. I know they need a backup, but I don't know why they go after Pickett. I would think that, I mean, I don't, I'm not saying they should pick him up, but I feel like Huntley's a better fit as a backup over there
Right.
than Pickett. You know what I mean? It just doesn't make a lot of sense from the Raiders' standpoint, in my opinion. But yeah, I think we will see him at some point. I'm not saying meaningful minutes, but I think we will see him.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to me because, we talk about Geno Smith, who has obviously had somewhat, I don't even know if you could call it a career resurgence, but a
A
spark
little
to a
bit,
career.
yeah.
I would call it a spark to a career more than a resurgence, where
He
he
looked good
played
at
great at,
times.
yeah, I mean, he played great in Seattle for 3 years, and
Yeah,
now
it's a
he's gone.
hell of receivers too, though.
Right, of course. He has Amari Cooper now. You've been screaming at the rooftops for us to bring him back. He went to
I
the
have not.
Raiders last night.
Um, the other thing about the Raiders, like I've been on record as saying I like Pickett in the sense that I think he's an athletic guy. It just hasn't really clicked for him so far. How shitty will it be when he lights it up and he becomes the net under Tom Brady over there? He becomes the next like superstar. I don't think that's gonna happen, but
I'm not worried about it. We were making the jokes about him being the next Sam Darnold here, and I was totally fine with the move. You cannot bank on situations like that, nor hang your head on a situation if something like that happens on a player that has been on your roster before. I know the narrative is, oh, it's one of those Cleveland Brown things or whatever, but it happens to everyone in any league all the time.
I will say just anecdotally, one of my Steelers friends, yes, unfortunately, I have some friends that are Steelers fans. They were worried about us taking Kenny Pickett and that he was going to light it up for us.
Well, the Steelers fans are also the same people that thought he was going to be the face of their franchise, and he isn't on their franchise anymore. So
That's true.
I don't know how much validity I was going to put into that thought process anyway. I was pro Joe. I've been pro Shador. I'm warming up to Dylan Gabriel now. I like the quarterback room that we have going on.
I agree. So interesting moves. Tomorrow we're going to be talking roster cut down. We'll go over the rest of the moves that the Browns are making or have made as they prepare for the season. We're here, baby. Football is here.
We are so damn close to week 1 where we're going to beat up on the Cincinnati Bengals 1 p.m. at Huntington Bank Field with old man Joe trotting out there throwing dimes to not one but 2 tight ends. I can't wait, man.
From your lips to God's ears. All right, that wraps it up for us today. We'll see you next time.